Welcome to the 10-Day Growth Hacking Challenge with your host, Nader Sabri. Today, we're here with Rohit, BASSI, a practitioner in the area of public speaking and presentation. Before we get started, I just want to remind those tuning in that this is based on the growth thinking methodology, a design methodology that you can use just like what we're doing here in the challenge. Before we get started, I will inform you that if there's anything you'd like to know more about what Rohit or what he does, you can get more information about him below. Today, we're here on growth hack number 2. We'll be looking at taking Rohit's specific competencies and expertise in public speaking and presentation, and shrinking it down, not shrinking it down in the sense of value, but giving it a niche application. And this niche application is in a very unique space. We know that there's a lot of communication challenges in this area. So be ready for this one. I'm not going to take the steam away from Rohit. Rohit, over to you. Tell us how, if there's any feedback on the last growth hack that you've had, please share it with us so that those who are tuning in can go back to hack number 1. If not, let's move on to hack number 2 and just let's go for it.
So regarding hack number 1 with the video thing, which I'm doing, it's still in progress. It's been the Eid break, so not been hearing a lot from people. So I said, okay, let me just stop for the moment, let people come back from Eid, and then I will start all over again. It's not just Eid, it's also summer holidays. So the response, even though I've sent some videos even to my LinkedIn contacts who are in the Western world, still I'm not getting a response back because I think a couple of people
Vacations.
who they're on vacation.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm just kind of, that hack is still going to keep on going. That's going to be an ongoing thing.
Brilliant.
It's just the timing needs to be, the timing is a bit awkward at the moment. Let's put it this way. But that, at the same time, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it. It's just, I need to be, my expectations, I need to be aware of those more than anything, that not to expect a response immediately or within this week or so.
100%.
So that's what I need to be more aware of.
By the way, so one of the growth hacks, I mean, just since we're talking about networking and the time of year, and obviously we're in the summertime at the moment, some of the best networking that I've ever done has actually been in the summertime. And one of the things that I've realized is people are more relaxed in the summertime, they're more easygoing. And so having more quality time and quality networking in the summertime has been more effective for me. In fact, it's reached a point where there's some people I can barely get a meeting with during normal months. And in July and August, I'd be able to get to meet with them like this and have a proper conversation, usually by people apologizing by the fact that they've been so busy and they couldn't connect with you later, but we're using the most ideal time. And most of them recognize that, like, hey, this is a time where I've got the headspace where I can actually focus with you. So I don't know if that applies to online. Now, that's where, you know, your hack will with a bit of time, will give us an interesting piece of feedback. I totally get the idea that people would shut down digital because, you know, I'm on the beach. I don't want to be on LinkedIn. So we'll be fair. We'll be fair about it. That we'll see how it goes. So putting that aside, tell us about hack 2. What is it? What has happened? How's it working?
Okay, so hack 2 is simply about, so you got your incubators, your accelerators, your startup places. And one of the greatest challenges, I wouldn't even call this a challenge, I would call it a big, massive problem, where you got wonderful ideas, you know, wonderful people, yet when it comes to pitching the idea, they're not there because their focus is so much on content and blubbering out information that they forget the investor, the person who's going to invest in you, wants to know what is it in for them. You know what they did, the WIIF FM, the most popular radio station in the world, WIIFM.
Okay.
What is it in for me? That's what the investor is looking at. Okay, what is it in for me through this? And what most people, when they're pitching, they're pitching because pitching in essence is presentation and public speaking. They forget to look at the basics of one. Your pitching is not your story deck. Your pitching is not your information which you're burbling around. Your pitching is the way you deliver your story to your business story to these investors so they get enticed and curious with what you have to offer. Now, people often mistake storytelling by once upon a time there was a king and a queen and they get married. That is a type of story. Now, even when we look at when we were children and when we used to go to sleep, our parents or our loved ones would always, or most of the times, they would tell us some kind of story. And even through our lives, when we learn something, when it is given through a story, we learn it better. We understand the things better. Even when we're talking to other people, we tend to, without realizing, when we tell a story, we're able to connect with the person much better, because when we are telling, so neuroscience is discovering that 95% of the decisions which we make are based on emotions rather than logic reasoning. And if that is the case, stories allow us to go into the subconscious mind of the other person. Data and slides are not doing that. They support the story.
So how do these entrepreneurs, I mean, in like just 3 very high level brief points, how did they crack through? Because I can appreciate the fact that an entrepreneur is passionate about the details inside, right? They're working night and day, and like this is their thing, right? And how do they like give them like 3 tips that they can take that passion they've got, all these detail, whatever it is that they're doing, and turn it into a mind-blowing story? What would those 3 things be?
So the 3 tips, which and this has evolved through my time when I've gone through this with many people. So I work with salespeople, I work with leaders, and especially when it comes to sales, you're pitching like a startup accelerator. They're pitching same way salespeople are pitching. And what I've seen with them is when you turn it into a story, okay, it becomes much stronger. So how do you turn this into a story? And this is same with anyone who is in a leadership as well, because you're selling your idea, your thought, your vision to people around you. So there's three things which I focus or which I've seen through observation. And this is trial and error. This is not from a book or theoretical. This is, I've seen this in action with the people I've worked with. The first thing is what I call is matters of the heart. What is matters of the heart? Now, Nadir, have you ever seen a real human heart?
Probably in a movie, online, and in school.
Same
of course,
over
in
here.
a textbook. Yeah.
And does it look very appealing when you look at it?
No, absolutely not.
Grotesque. And bloody. It's not a sight.
Yeah.
And this is what most people, when they're pitching, give too much all at once, too much information. And that's what this, human heart looks is too much all at once that you get put off.
Okay.
So that's what people do when people are pitching. That's what they do. They give so much information all at once that the investor is lost.
So you need a hook. Like you need just that 1 word or 3 words or just that single sentence. It's just like boom.
Absolutely.
And we're not talking pitch. We're talking story, right? There's a difference here, right? Yeah.
So,
okay.
So when you do this is when you are giving. See, the investor still wants information, but you need to give it in drip feed.
Yeah.
Bit by bit, not too much information. So that's why this is what I call is matters of the heart. You want to get to the heart, you need to give it drip by drip. You can't give too much. You're flooding the person with too much information and they're overwhelmed or they're lost with information.
So tip number 1 is bring it to a point where it's just so simple and you have the whole story ready to go, but you're dripping it just to keep them going along with you to ensure that the story is effective.
Yep. So you get to the matter of the heart, get to the point with those couple of words, and then you can expand on it.
Awesome. Okay.
It's like when somebody talks to you, okay, what do you do, Nadir? Your pitch in simple is you're a growth hacking genius. Okay. Now, what does a growth hacking genius do? Well, this is what they do. Then now you start drip feeding the information, how you help people out. But the initial phase of growth hacking genius is where it all starts off with. Yep. So in my case, what I say is I'm a leadership communication keynote speaker, trainer and coach. Now, what does that do? Then I can go into more detail. You have to have that strong pitch in the beginning. or
Okay.
that strong, remember those words, this is what this is all about.
Yep.
So that's why I call it matters of the heart. Get to the point, but not too much. Less is more.
Got it. Okay.
Okay,
Tip
so-
number 2.
So the first tip is less is more. Second is, all in all, you're just another brick in the wall. Okay, what the hell does that mean? Well, all in all, you're just another brick in the wall. You remember the song, I think, who was it? I can't remember the group's name. We don't need no education.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so this is where I picked this up from is this thought process came from a very, very simple thing is, have you heard of the brand Supreme?
Yeah, the snowboard brand, correct? And
Absolutely.
initially, I think, yeah.
And then they started doing these collaborations with all these different brands. And on occasions they create these limited editions of products. And I think it was somewhere in, I think it was 2013. I can't remember the exact year, or maybe it could have been earlier. They created a normal brick, which had Supreme written on it, just had Supreme written on it. And they sold it for $30 retail price. Now think about it. A normal brick costs anything between 8 cents to $1 or so in a DIY store.
Okay.
And now they're selling a brick for $30.
With their logo on it, that's it.
That's it, Supreme, and it's just a clay brick.
Okay. So what's the moral? What's the moral of it? What's the
So look at this. Now somebody goes and rebuys it on eBay from a person who bought the brick for $1,000.
Why?
$1,000. Why? Because Supreme had created a product towards the market which they wanted to aim at, who consider Supreme to be that valuable brand.
Okay.
Now that's what they did with clay. Now somewhere else on the other side of the world, a guy called Prajapati in India, he worked in a brick factory, in a clay factory.
Okay.
And he used to create bricks. One of the products the factory used to create is bricks. He was a worker in that factory. And he's thinking, he's saying, okay, he comes up with an idea looking at the clay. Instead of creating brick, he creates a refrigerator which runs without electricity.
Yep.
No electricity.
Using clay to keep it cool. Yep.
Absolutely. Now, why did he do that? Because people in his income bracket could not afford a refrigerator. They cannot even afford day-to-day electricity.
Okay.
And perishable goods needed to be kept, last for a couple of days. And that's what he did. Now look at both of them. Supreme took clay and created a brick and gave value to a certain market. And Prajapati took the clay and created a refrigerator and gave value to a certain market.
So it's creating value as quick as possible. So drip the story, create value as early on as possible so that they can just see it fast. Got it. Okay.
Otherwise, you're just another brick in the wall. Forget it.
Yeah. I like the analogy. It's a good one. Yeah.
You're just another brick in the wall. You look at how many bricks you see on a wall. Do you see any? Most of us will not consider a brick to be unique. They're all the same.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, they definitely feel the same to me. Yeah.
You need to ensure that you show the value rather than being just another brick in the wall. Show that uniqueness. So grip it, show that value. Last thing is, okay, the knife that you hold. Now, what the hell does that mean? So Nadir, if I was to give you a knife, but I was to just give you the blade of that knife, what would happen to?
I'd cut myself. I can't do anything with it.
Okay, very likely you can cut. You will, high possibility, very high possibility, absolutely right. You will cut yourself. You will hurt yourself. Even if you're attempting to use it, okay, you may be able to use some of it, but it's all over the place and you will cut yourself, you'll hurt other things. That's one thing. Now, if I was to give you the knife, but I don't give you the blade and I just give you the handle, what happens then?
Absolutely nothing. Can't do anything with it. Just I use it as a paper weight.
Yeah, it's like the purpose of the knife is not being achieved.
Yep.
Your knife, if you look at it from an analogy perspective, your knife is your intelligence, your logic, or your reasoning. Your handle is your emotions, which helps you control your or manage your intelligence, your reasoning, and your logic. So when you are pitching, you need to be ensuring you integrate your logic and your emotions. It can't be fully logic and reasoning. It can't be fully emotional. It has to be integrated, because at the end of the day, humans are a bag of emotions, and they also have rational. And when you integrate and communicate to a person in such a way, they listen to you and they believe in your story.
So should that be like a 50-50 split? I know that's oversimplifying it, but is that like the ideal mix, like 50% emotion, 50% logic? What would that kind of breakdown look like?
Okay, now this is it's very easy to say 50-50 split. I'm not going to say it's going to be a 50-50 split. Okay. What you need to do is you need to be ready with your logics, because there are some investors who would just want to look at your numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And then there are some investors who are going to say, okay, tell me why you're really doing this. Yeah. Tell me what's happening in your family. Tell me, they will go into that side of the thing. They want to know the numbers, but they want to know more about you.
Yeah, but also sometimes one of them may supersede the other. So if the logic doesn't add up, then the emotion doesn't kick in, because once you see the numbers and they're kind of like, okay, all the numbers check out. Okay, tell me about you, right? And it's kind of like it's kind of cold way of doing things, but it happens. I've been in those kind of rooms where it's like the numbers look great. Wow, that looks amazing. Oh, you know what? Tell us a little bit more about you. You just got past the door. You get what I mean? Yeah, totally.
And if you've watched any of these pitching programs, like in the UK, you have Dragon Dens, and I think in the US you have Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And one of the things you notice is some of the guys, the investors who are on that show, who are going to give that investment, some look things from a very emotional perspective. Some look at from a very give me the numbers. And even with the people who look at the numbers, and I've seen this with some of these, they look at the numbers, said, I'm not investing you. And they ask, why is the case? I just don't get the right feeling from this.
Yeah. They use the numbers as an excuse for the emotion. I've seen that many, many times as well. I completely agree with you. I've actually seen that particular case probably more often than none, where it is actually an emotional decision, but is masked or disguised. And it can be very well disguised, by the way, as a pure numbers thing. There's a vibe that's just not there. In fact, I was on a panel with some VCs out of the Silicon Valley, and I asked the question, has anyone ever invested in something that just didn't make sense on paper? They all put their hands up. They're like, yeah. I mean, one guy, point blank said, he's like, about 70% of the deals I do actually don't make sense on paper. It's just a gut feel, and then everything else is filled in. And he's like, and that's the art and science of venture capital. And I was like, that's it. See, he outright laid it out, man.
So I was just listening. I was watching a video day before yesterday, and there's a bell which has been released. I think it's been out for a while, where it's being sold at Amazon. I don't know what the pricing is, but it's a doorbell which has a camera in it. It's an independent doorbell with a camera which can be connected to your mobile, to your phone, whatever way. Yeah. Now that was actually pitched on the Shark Tank.
Okay.
And one person was investing in it. Only one person said, I will invest in it. The rest said, no, this idea is not worth it.
Yeah.
But the guy who was the person who was pitching it, he said, this investment is not enough for me. I need more than that. I need a more substantial amount.
Yeah.
And so he didn't get a deal.
Okay.
That product is extremely popular now.
Yep.
Making immense amount of revenues. Now, imagine if one of those Shark Tank people had invested in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, a lot of people look for validation from investors, and investors, and they are humans as well. They can't just see and know everything. They try their best, but ultimately, I mean, it's all about like gut feel and intuition. Ultimately, that's actually really what it comes down to. Now, if you want to understand from a scientific perspective, and that's purely my perspective, when I look at deals nonstop, I build like this, let's call it like a mechanical intuition, where there's little triggers that I can just see very quickly over time, because I've seen so many deals come through, which I would have normally not seen initially. So it would just pop up really quick. I'm like, okay, there's a signal here. Let me go see if this signal checks out. If you weren't as experienced, those signals they would just go right over your head. You wouldn't see them. And so that's where I think the science of intuition comes into play. It's a matter of just frequency and experience, and you just kind of start to see these things, and then boom, boom, it just starts to move faster and faster and more accurate with time. It's incredible. And so I can see that. So there must have been, like, in this particular decision, there just must have been something that these guys did not see, or maybe they did see it, but they, they didn't want to go for it. And you never know, after the show, they may have done it. It's very possible. They may have said, I've heard of these kinds of things happen on Shark Tank, where they may say, on the show, and then later they kind of revise their decision, not on the show, but outside the show. And I've heard these kind of stories. True or not, I have no idea, but let it be. So recapping, so the three things that you tell people, not people, but entrepreneurs specifically for investor pitching. Number one, drip feed your story, start simple, and then get into the deeper story.
Remember, so when I say matters of the heart, it means less is more. Drip feed it.
Drip feed it.
Okay.
Yep. Number two is essentially, you're saying create value as early on, just like the example of the brick. You're just a normal brick in the wall. Make value as fast as possible so that you're not just that one brick, or, well, you look like all the other bricks. And then number three is you're finding the let's call it the optimal mix between rationality and emotion. There is no really set standard to it, but it's up to you to kind of figure it out, as we've just discussed. But always identify that there's those two things, and you need to find where that mix is and make it work.
Yeah. So when you're looking at your rationale and your emotions, one of the things which any person who's going to go and pitch, present, do this is looking for investment is find out who is actually coming to that pitch.
Yep.
Who are the investors? It's always, and that gives you and what you do is, now social media is quite popular. Use different social medias, use Google, use a web search to find out information about that individual, how possibly this person's personality is, and accordingly you start making your pitch meeting those requirements. So
this is a really interesting growth hack for you after this, because I know a guy based in France, and he built this profile sheet on how to profile someone to get to know them in a structured way. So it's not like randomly going through their Instagram. He would be like, look for triggers for anniversaries. I remember this distinctively. And then he'd be like, look for hobbies and interests. So what he did is, like, he had this systematic checklist to identify what these things are. He would create the story on the next sheet, and he would be able to communicate in a structured way without just randomly browsing. So I believe that that's another growth hack added to your book, I think, as a build up to this part of the pitching, because people, I think, will ask you, like, okay, dude, great. I'm going to be pitching 50 investors in the next 6 months. Reading 50 profiles, I can spend 2 hours on each one of them. That's 100 hours. Where am I going to get those 100 hours, right? Growth hack that. That's what you need.
So
Split the time.
There's products out there which can go into a person's LinkedIn profile and looking at what they post, what they people they've worked with, the organization, the level. They give you a kind of a guesstimate of what kind of profile this person is. Is this person a very direct, rational person, or this person a very feeling, people-oriented person?
Well, so there's also an app. You might know this one. It's a LinkedIn app. They may have been removed. It's called Crystal something, and it can get your personality. You can get your personality. So a smart hack would be taking this Crystal app. I don't know the full name. You guys can figure it out. And then applying it to the people you want to go to and getting that personality profile. It'll even tell you how to write an email based on that individual. It was very unique. I wouldn't be surprised if they've removed it, but if it's there, it's awesome. This is many years ago. Brilliant way to just cut that time down, man.
I believe it's still around.
So look into that. I mean, that would be a very interesting addition. So finding a way to really build up those custom structured profiles on how somebody could really dig in. I think this is an area, if you explode that may become its own life on its own, because a lot of people lack at that particular perspective, no matter who they are. I mean, pitching at all levels, but for entrepreneurs, even more critical, right? Because they've got investment on the line.
So, one of the things is, when you are pitching is, in simple words, you need to have the ethos, pathos, and the logos in delivering any kind of pitch. So the emotion, the credibility, and the logic behind it. That's what you need to have. When you have all those three things, it's much easier to pitch, and you can pitch any kind of personality because you have taken components of all those three parts.
So And I think that this is what you need to build on moving forward. So stepping back to the growth hack number 2 itself, what have you done so far? Okay, putting this together, what have the results look like, and what are the next steps with it?
Okay, so the next steps is, so we had a discussion about this where you looked at the outline which I'd given you, and there's some amendments which I need to do, which will be happening today. Once those amendments are being once happen, there is, I believe there's someone in your network which we need to send the outline. Absolutely. And then the discussion will happen. Yep. That's what's going to happen on that side.
Awesome.
And what the other thing is, which we're going to do, is look at other incubators around in this region who we can send this across to and see if they're interested in this or not.
Yep. And I think like I challenge you to look at the discussion we just had about the personality profile thing, finding some hacks around that and making that a very distinctive part of your offering. Because I can tell you many people lack that capability, and that little tiny piece may surprise you and become very valuable.
To me, it's a no-gamer. If somebody wants to know, and this is telling you, get one of these products, the crystal thing, which I'm sure is still available. You connect it to your LinkedIn and you do it. Or you're talking about the French guy, get his whatever application he has, implement it and do that. And if you don't have that, I mean, there is something which I use as a general personality thing, which I use when I'm working with people, is how do you work out a person's personality just by reading some of this stuff or looking
that's good, detecting. That's it. Yeah.
So you can detect that. I have a tool which I use with these people.
So I think like wording it as tailored pitching, right, with personality matching, some language like that as part of the deck that you showed me, so that people would know that they're going to get training how to do it, because that training is, I think, much more valuable than you might think, because this can apply across your whole product line, not just for us for this application.
So this is something which I use with the salespeople when they are actually going and doing the sales talk. With in leadership and in teams. So it's just not about presentation, public speaking. You can use it across different elements, because
100%.
At the end of the day, it's all about communication.
Yep, 100%.
How you adapt, be versatile, and be more flexible with your communication, depending on the individual you're talking to. So you see there, anyone, you, me, anyone out there, everyone has their own preferred way of communicating. And when we meet that personality, which meets our preferred way of communicating, we connect with them much faster and much quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as I always say, birds with the same feathers flock together. And that's a big thing. And if you'll identify these characteristics very quickly. But the challenge with it is, how do I fly with people who are in a different flock, right? And because that's the reality of the world. That's just how it works. Not everyone is going to be the same as me.
That's why one of these tools, and says this is, when I am doing any of these sessions, this is one of the tools which I use, which I have for myself, which I call the animal profile. And that was something which I learned from the UK. It's a license program which I tend to use, and it becomes a part of it for a simple reason. It's called the animal profile because you can tell. So just a brief of how it works is a person an owl? Is a person a lion? Is a person a monkey? Is a person a horse? And all these animals have a certain characteristic. And you will find all these 4 characteristics in any kind of investment pitch.
Very interesting. So that I would definitely bring into that, like animal profiling. I mean, that will catch people's attention, by the way. Like animal profiling, what the hell is that, man?
It is, it's amazing. I've used it with some other organizations in the past, especially when it comes to that sales environment, pitching environment thing, and they are surprised at their own personality. Because see, it's very easy to remember. You remember animal, you remember a lion, you remember owl, you remember monkey, you remember horse. But now, if I start, now if I start saying that you are a blah 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 blah, you start using big words. You are a domineer. You are.
Nobody gets it.
It's like, but when I say it to animals, and I've used this with teenagers as well, and they're like, "Whoa!" It connects with them very quickly.
Yeah.
And some of the people which I've used this with, so one of the organizations which I've used this with is Informa over here in the UAE. And at one particular time when they initially used it, they used to have a board in their office finding out every person's what is their preferred personality. Is it a lion? Is it a horse? Is it a monkey? Or is it owl? And depending on that, they would go and communicate with that team member to get their things. And
wow.
That really helped them out. Now look at it. The diversification is how you actually can adapt it to different environments.
So that's, I would add it. Please add those two things that we've discussed to the profile, because I think those things are super important. I know sometimes maybe because you're in the detail, you take it for granted as it's part of some of the things inside. Don't do that. Surface it to the top. If you tell me animal profile, I'll be like, what? That gets my attention right at the top. If you tell me how I can do personality matching or understand people's personalities before going in there so I can tap into them, you've got my attention, man. And by the way, so just everything aside, what kind of animal am I?
So maybe we should have the program called Pitch to Win. Okay.
Yeah.
The animals you will be talking to.
Yeah. Winning like an animal. So back to my question. What kind of animal would I be?
Okay. So when because I've known you for a while, you are very much you're very much into specifics. Very much, and at the same time, you are a very person-focused, people-orientated person. So you will be dropping more in the horse. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they are very specific. They want to know what's going on. They're very people-focused. They will not do a change until they cannot see the benefit.
Yeah. Got it. Utility oriented.
Yeah. So if they say the horse is an individual who can really get into the details of things. And I've seen you really getting into the details of things. At the same time, they're very people orientated. They want everything to be done in a very peaceful, in a loving manner. They are not people who like to, they are not aggressive. They're the gentle type. They are not into being aggressive on others as well. Now, they also have this. So, like I said, change. They will only change if you can really show them the benefit. Otherwise,
utility. Utility based. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's only logical. It makes sense. Why create a change unless when it's needed? And recognizing the need before it comes even is about anticipation and understanding the future. And that's how you get ahead of things and create the future rather than being an adapter of the future. Yeah, totally.
So with personality, like you, if I was to go to you with something and say, okay, you will look at it. Okay, so what's the benefit out of this?
Yeah.
Where's it going to take you?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man. So I look forward. This is pretty awesome. I think tons of entrepreneurs are going to benefit out of this completely. The 3 points that Rohit has given us, please note those down. Think about how those would apply to you. Keep posted on his program that will be coming out that will be specifically tailored towards entrepreneurs and investor pitching. He's going to be going into super detailed things like the animal profile and personality matching as what we're just calling it for now, but you've heard the details of how that's going to work. You can get more information about Rohit and what he does below. Feel free to reach out to him. As we kind of tune out, is there anything else that you want to share about this growth hack before we move on?
I'll have to say if whoever's going to do the growth hack need commitment.
Yeah.
You have to be commitment and you have to be disciplined.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Consistency and discipline is like the two secret ingredients to succeeding in anything. And it's a tough one because my contestants consistently have a problem with consistency. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I had one contestant a couple of days ago. That's right. So we moved her into an area of discomfort. And I told her, like, listen, growth is in discomfort. And then as she started getting results, she's like, this is incredible. And I said, you got comfortable inside discomfort. You've just graduated. Move on to the next one. And truly, hand on heart, that's really what it's about, right? Is you just move into that discomfort and then you get comfortable being in that zone of discomfort. And that's where the magic happens. And if you keep that consistent, inevitably you're going to get results and they're just going to get bigger and better with time. It's just the bottom line. It's how it works. That's how it works, man. So on that note, guys, you know, we're coming to the end. For those who want to know more about the challenge, pick up your copy of Growth Thinking. Everything that we do in here is inside. It teaches you the methodology, including some free online videos. If you go to the barcode at the bottom, you get some free training on how to use this methodology. Keep track of the challenge to keep learning from world-class practitioners and experts like Rohit. Thank you. So here we go. We'll see you guys in hack number 3. Rohit, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Bye.